How's it going, everybody? This is BeatTheBush. Electronics in general depreciates really, really fast. So some of you have asked me when you should actually buy these electronic items. Quite simply for me, I buy the oldest that I can stand. Sometimes I might have to buy the current model. Sometimes I might buy a couple versions old. I used to buy all the latest tech gadgets, but now I've kind of scaled back a little bit and I don't buy everything right when it comes out. The turning point for me was when I go back and reflect upon all the things that I bought. I realized that I spent a lot of money on those things, and whenever I try to go and sell them or whenever I look at the value of them, it just kind of depreciates like a rock. I can barely get 10% out of these electronic items if I sell it many, many years later. And most of the time, they get so old that no one even wants these items anymore. So they just go in some sort of electronic graveyard, and I have a whole bucket of these things like, old cell phones, MP3 players, and things like that. Sometimes you have to buy electronic items because you absolutely think it's essential. For example, this camera that I'm recording these videos on, I essentially have to buy these things. I have to buy this mic. You might think that this is an unnecessary upgrade. To me, it's absolutely necessary. These lights that I'm using for this video, even though, yes, these are electronic items and yes, they will depreciate like a rock, certain things depreciate less. Generally, things that do not get upgraded every single year depreciate less. Now, the whole point of this exercise is for me to show you some of the items that I bought that I know depreciated a lot, so that you can reflect on these items as well yourself. So whenever you buy something that's similar, just know that, yeah, that amount that you sink into it is essentially being burnt. It just kind of evaporates. And whenever I buy stuff these days, I just go, okay, yeah, I'm going to buy this. I know that's the amount that's going to go into it. Maybe I'm going to use it for forever. So then I don't really care that it depreciates to zero because the value is there for me. Now, let me give you an example. I bought one of the earlier MacBook Airs for $1,800. Many, many years later, now it's worth only maybe $200 or less, and I probably cannot even sell it even if I wanted to. I bought an iPad for about $700 brand new, and it hurts. It pains me to see that just a couple years later, I think it's only 3-4 years, that if I sell this item, and I did sell it, I don't have this iPad anymore because I find that I don't really use it. I'm like, okay, even if it's $150, I want to get rid of it because I never touched that thing. So I got $150 out of the $700 that I spent on it, essentially a $550 loss here. So basically, out of all these Mac items, if you hold it for 5-6 years, you're looking at a really, really large depreciation. Maybe like, I don't know, 80% of it's gonna depreciate away. Generally for Apple products, it's not gonna depreciate at a rate that's as fast as other items. However, if given long enough time, it is going to depreciate by a large amount. Desktop computers, I know I bought a handful of them before, and each generation I buy one, it costs me like $1,000 or more. And now, these days they just sit around until they're valued at $0 basically. So when you buy desktop computers, be very, very wary. You want to hold off as long as you can. These days, you don't have to buy that many desktop computers because generally they are powerful enough to do what you need. If you're just doing word processing, web surfing, you don't really need that powerful a computer. However, when I'm editing these videos, to edit 1080p video at a reasonable amount of time, you need a pretty beefy computer. And on top of that, if I were to ever edit, 4K videos, I probably need something even more powerful than that. Digital cameras, these point and shoot cameras, I basically use them until they're dead. So then I do not feel the depreciation as much because I get a really good amount of usage out of them. However, I've noticed that generally the newer type of point and shoot cameras, they are more generic, they break easier. So they give you a good utility, and if you use it for a couple of years, I feel that the depreciation does not hurt as much because you are using it quite a few amount of times. This is in contrast to an iPad where it's something that just sat there and I didn't use all that much. It's sort of like people aren't buying as many iPads these days. They find that they don't need to use them as much. Personally, I use them. It was a fad in the beginning, and you realize this with a lot of electronics. products, they are a fad kind of, because just take a look at VR. People spend thousands and thousands of dollars. They upgrade their computer, a couple $1,000s. The VR gear itself might be $500 to $1,000 for that setup. So by the time you're done with everything, it's $3,000-$4,000. I just read an article how they're not selling enough VR stuff and they're lowering the prices. The mainstream is not really picking up on VR these days, but this is an opinion piece. So I'm not saying VR is dead, but someone is saying is dead. That's all. Inkjet printers, I used to buy these things for $100-$200 a pop. I would use them until, well, one time I broke one by dropping it. So out of these items and many, many more, I see my hard-earned money put into electronic products. And after I see how much it's worth later on, I just get sick of it. I'm like, every single time I buy something like this, it's not worth anything anymore. I wish I could have, when I don't need it anymore, I can sell it for at least 50%, 80% of the value. So knowing that things depreciate like a rock, knowing which kind of things depreciate like a rock, then you can make a conscious decision, make an informed decision when you buy the product that, yes, when I buy into this product, it's not going to be worth all that much later on. Then this would weigh in on how much you would actually spend on this product. For example, I know I don't want to spend all that much on iPhone, so I still have an iPhone 5. I bought that thing for like $500, and I think it's not worth all that much these days anymore. But if I want to upgrade, I have to pay $1,000 for the next one, the iPhone 8 or something. Yes, it will have a certain utility because it'll have a better camera, whatever, bigger screen and stuff. However, whatever I'm doing with my current phone right now, it serves its purpose. I can surf the web, I can get various emails, just everything, all the apps that I need to run. I'm able to do that. I'm able to get information. I'm able to use the GPS. So functionality is there. However, it's not of the most premium type of functionality. When I operate on a generation or 2 or 3 later, you are essentially spending at a lower rate. If you are always on the cutting edge, it means that your burn rate here, the amount that you're burning, it's kind of like the depreciation. You're taking the grunt of the first year of depreciation. If you operate on the cutting edge all the time for every single gadget that you buy, you're going to burn through a lot of money. So if you step back a little bit, just one generation even, or 2 generation like I am with the iPhone 5, then you'll find out that you're getting almost equivalent amount of information or utility out of this. However, you're spending a lot less. So whenever you get a brand new item, if you just step back from the bleeding edge just a little bit, if this is your habit, you're going to save a lot over your lifetime. Basically, yeah, you're not going to get the latest and greatest that you can show everybody. You're still going to get the equivalent amount of utility though. If you're always on the bleeding edge, you'll also realize that whenever you get something brand new, it doesn't last very long. The upgrade cycles is usually 1 year for most products. There are some products that the upgrade cycle is more than 1 year. For example, this camera that you're looking through here, it's a Canon 5D Mark III. Well, they have the 5D Mark IV now. However, generally on SLR, DSLRs, the value of these things keep quite well. The lenses keep even better because they don't upgrade the lenses. It's just a piece of glass. So when a brand new version of the DSLR portion of it, where the chip is, you can just take your old lens and just stick it on the brand new body. So whenever it's something that does not get upgraded, something that does not have a chip inside, for example, this mic right here, I'm pretty sure that 5 years down the line, I might be able to sell this for at least I don't know, half the price that I paid for this thing. Because it's one of these timeless things where a mic is a mic, it's not going to evolve unless somehow, people just start moving on to using, some sort of other recording mechanism. I bought a Nest and it's somewhere over there back in the wall a while ago. And I thought, oh, if I buy this Nest, it's going to last me at least several years. But turns out 1 year later, the Nest 2.0 came out and made my Nest 1.0 obsolete. This is an annoying factor that I did not take into account. A lot of times when you buy something, just to remind yourself that yeah, they're going to come out with a new one, and you can easily go online sometimes, and they would tell you, people would kind of know when the upgrade cycle is going to be. So you might not want to catch yourself in buying an item that's just a couple months before an upgrade cycle. So let me review the timeless items, such as paper shredders. Generally do not have upgrade cycles. When you buy a paper shredder, it's an electronic item. There's a motor in it. 5 years later, your paper shredder is not going to be outdated. Digital scales for the kitchen is the same thing. However, you have these brand new digital scales that are $100 plus, that has Bluetooth connectivity. So in a way, I don't think that really makes your old digital scale all that much obsolete. One last thing to note is that some items, if you hold it for a really, really long time, 20 years, 30 years maybe, if it's unopened, it's all that much more valuable. You can sell it for a lot of money, but it's hard to know beforehand what those items are. Sometimes people get lucky. They're like, oh, the first iPhone, I'm just going to buy it and not opening. I mean, for an iPhone 8, for example, let's say it's going to be $1,000. You buy this. Are you really going to buy an extra one and just, not open it and put it in the attic for 20 years? Most people won't do this kind of stuff. So I hope this opens up your eyes a little bit in terms of when you should buy electronics. Just kind of be very aware of the depreciation, because I think most people, whenever you step into a Best Buy, any place that has a lot of electronic gadgets, they just buy it. They just look at what's in their pocket, how much is in their checking account, and they go, oh, I can afford this. Oh, let me buy it. But you should look at how much it depreciates, because this really affects your bottom line. Because if you're going to get rid of it later on, it's the delta between these two. That's how much you spent on this item. And the less that you spend on the delta, the less it depreciates your net worth. That's all I have for you for today. Don't forget to give me a like on this video. Comment down below. Let me know what gadgets you actively avoid in order to avoid depreciation. If you're interested in supporting this channel, don't forget to check out my Audible link down in the video description below, where you can get a free audiobook. And if you don't like this audiobook or this service, you can cancel it before the trial subscription ends, and you can still keep this free audiobook. So you get one free audiobook over here, and you can still help benefit this channel. If you're interested in supporting my channel directly, you can check out my Patreon over here, where I give various perks at various contribution levels. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel over here and click that bell icon next to the subscribe button so that you get a notification whenever I upload a brand new video. Thanks for watching.